We have Chip Roy on with us. Hello, Chip. How are you, sir?
Well, Glenn, our state is under siege. I think the American people are seeing that firsthand. And, fortunately, the House Republicans took action yesterday, but this administration is leaving us stranded.
So I don't understand. We were just talking about Governor Abbott. I'd sure like Governor Abbott to start leading a little more than he is. I know he's shipping everybody out from Texas to other states, but that just hurts other states as well. This is an invasion. You can't have 400,000 people coming in every month and expect to keep your country. You can't. So
there were something like 30,000 apprehensions over the last 3 days. Trying to get updates about what's going on tonight. I've got a few folks down at the border giving me, sort of the latest and greatest, or the latest and most terrible. And what I'm hearing is right now is that the DPS and National Guard folks who are down there at the order of the governor are actually on the front lines trying to turn away and hold people back.
Okay, good.
While Border Patrol is effectively retreated into just full processing by basically kind of order of the DHS. So we've had this kind of flip where it's actually Texas folks trying to keep them from crossing and Border Patrol pulled back to process.
So you're the second source we have on this now, so I believe it. We just had somebody else on who said that's the word that they were getting, but they'd believe it when they saw it. So if you're getting that as well, maybe then the governor is taking charge of the border.
Well, look, I think it's all a tough call right here. I mean, look, I do think the governor and DPS, they're trying to throw everything they have at it. There is that kind of, you get right up to that point where you're either deciding to take over and literally take charge to turn away and return people and just put, basically force your way in front of Border Patrol. But as Bill Malugin reported, we don't have the resources. We don't have enough people.
Yeah, but
we don't have enough folks. And so it's hard, right? They'll just move to another place, and then Border Patrol will just usher them right in. And by the way, this is why the Texas House should have passed HB 20, which they crapped on this last week, instead of giving more resources to the governor. And instead, they're passing frickin' gambling bills. That's your frickin' Texas House Republicans in action. They should have given more support to the governor, and they didn't do it.
So I just talked to Wade Miller for Citizens Renewing America, and he said that if the governor calls other states, they can send resources down.
Yeah, certainly, I think other states are willing to work with Texas. I don't know the latest on that. Of course, Wade's probably correct on that. I know Wade well. And I think there's a number of states that I know are willing to support. I'm confident Florida would support. And look, by the way, God bless Florida. They just passed legislation. They passed the Strong E-Verify bill. They passed other strong immigration language in their legislature that Governor DeSantis signed. And then they just had a court, strike down these releases of migrants with nothing more than please show up one day, not a required notice to appear. So at least they put an injunction on that for 2 weeks. So they're trying to help. But look, we gotta do everything we can in Texas. And I'm just calling on the Texas legislature to get their head out of their rear end, give more resources to the governor. We need all states to kind of work with Texas to try to step into the breach, because Border Patrol and this DHS, they're pulling back. Now, I want to be clear. The Border Patrol agents on the line, they want to do their job. It's the freaking idiots at DHS that are holding them back.
We were just talking about China's invasion plan for Russia, and it was to send 1 million people over the border to surrender their guns and to surrender to the Russians. After 5 million people cross the border and surrender, Russia's overwhelmed and it collapses, and they win without firing a bullet. This is exactly that strategy if you believe somebody is trying to collapse the United States of America, and I happen to believe that.
Well, one thing we know for sure, I got reports just yesterday of Chinese nationals that they're running across. We know that Border Patrol is now being pulled back to do processing, and they're unable to process between ports of entry. We know we've had 1.7 million gotaways. We know that we've gotten people from all sorts of places, connected to foreign terror states and Chinese nationals in the past. We know exactly what's happening in terms of the porousness of our border, and we know exactly what, evil a lot of people around this world want to do. And the problem is that what people haven't firmly come to grips with is that we've got evil in our own White House and DHS who don't give a rat's rear end about our own sovereignty, security, and they want to undermine our country. They're literally at war with the American people. They're undermining our energy freedom. They're spending us to death. They're opening up our borders for all manners of danger, from fentanyl to terrorists to China. And you can only conclude that it's purposeful. There is no other logical conclusion.
Chip, I will tell you, next week I'm laying out a plan, a constitutional plan that we have talked to scholars and attorneys and attorney generals about it, and it is something that we can do to fight back. But it is time for Americans to really dig into the Constitution and into their state constitutions and find out exactly what could be done, because we're in an end game here. At some point, this will overwhelm. I mean, I've said it. You look at the growth of Texas, of Houston, of Austin. At some point, these cities are no longer Texas cities, and I contend they already aren't. They're no longer Texas cities. When we had massive immigration at the turn of the century through Ellis Island, you were at least given, the books on how to become an American. They were stressing you got to fold in and become an American. That's not happening. You cannot add millions of people to your population that don't know nor care anything about your history, when our population doesn't know or care about our history or our system of government. You will change fundamentally, and you'll never be able to go back to a constitutional republic because no one will know what it is.
All of this is purposeful, from the education system to the porous borders to what they're trying to do to attack our financial stability, banking system. I mean, just go down the line. I mean, there's literally no other explanation for it. We have to, stand up and hold the line. And I applaud you for going down that road. We have to do it as a free people. We're not just going to sit back and allow these tyrants in Washington to undermine our God-given freedom. That's what's occurring. I just want to be very clear. I'm not going to allow that. As a free citizen, I'm going to protect my children, my family, my community from the tyranny of this out-of-control government. Right now, as a member of Congress, my duty is to try to move the ball forward as I can here. It may be too little, too late. Republicans for 20 years have pissed around and not done anything on the border because they were in the hip pocket of the gosh darn Chamber of Commerce. Well, finally, we've grown a spine. We finally passed a strong border security bill, and I'm proud of it. It's a good bill. We passed it yesterday, and it took a lot of wrangling.
What does it say? What does it do?
So the bill is literally, Glenn, and I wouldn't make this up, it is the strongest border security bill we've ever passed. It would make very clear that the secretary, a future secretary who's not corrupt, for a Republican, has straight up authority to turn away the border for any reason he or she sees fit. That's a really important addition. It's like Title 42, but across the board and not related to health. Number two, it would fix all of the crap loopholes. It would tighten the asylum definitions. It would fix the unaccompanied children problems. It would fix the family unity separation problems created by courts. And most importantly, it would require, and it would be very specific in the statute, overtaking all other laws, and it would say you may not release, period, unless someone is having a legitimate claim being adjudicated. And not unless. You may not release, period, but you must be detained or you must be in Mexico while a legitimate asylum claim is being adjudicated, period. That's the end of it. It's a good bill. It does E-Verify. It has additional resources for Border Patrol, but only if we pass the policy changes. It has, more funding for the wall, et cetera. Again, some of this is set up for a future Republican president if our country can even last 18 months, and God willing, we get a Republican elected. That I'm not sure we can if we don't throw ourselves in front of this train right now, which raises questions of impeachment, both for Secretary Mayorkas and the president. It raises questions about what the states do, and it raises questions about the debt ceiling and the spending fight. I don't see how I, as a responsible Texan, can move forward either the debt ceiling bill or a spending bill if we don't address the border crisis. It's an absolute abhorrent, undermining of our sovereignty, security. It's endangering Texans. So we'll see how this unfolds, but we've got to use either the debt ceiling or the spending fight in September or both to secure the border, as well as other things. Stop the pistol braces, stop the World Health Organization, stop the, spending of money we don't have recklessly, stop the stupid Inflation Reduction Act tax credits. Now, we did most of those things in our bill that we passed and sent over, although we still need to address, the WHO and the pistol braces and the border.
So let me ask you, I just talked to Mike Lee about an hour ago. He said, Congress, you did your job and you put the REINS Act in the budget. And I said to him, just shooting from the hip, I think that's worth even raising the debt ceiling, some compromising on this to get the REINS Act. I think that reins in the U.S. Government agencies in a way that would be extraordinary. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, totally. Thanks for bringing that up. And just for the listener out there, what it means is that if you have any regulation that has an economic impact or impact of greater than $100 million, then it has to go to Congress for approval. Roughly, that's the kind of dumb speak version of it. So it would significantly alter the balance of what these regulators, these bureaucrats, can do without congressional engagement. We've ceded too much authority to them.
Yeah.
So yes, it is an extremely powerful piece. I mean, people don't realize. I mean, look, I get slapped around on Twitter from the conservatives, who I understand they're frustrated because they're assuming we're doing what Republicans have always done.
Right.
We're not. The Speaker's agreement in January, what we did in the debt ceiling fight, what we just did in the border bill, this border bill is righteous, conservative, and strong. The debt ceiling bill we passed is awesome. It's chock full of all sorts of great stuff that we sent over to the Senate. So the question now is, do we have the backbone to not blink when we get up to June? Deals can be made in order to move the ball down the field, but we should not blink on the need to address most or all of these things. Those Inflation Reduction Act tax credits, Glenn,
yeah,
that money just goes into the hip pocket of liberal elitists.
I know.
90% of the dollars go into corporations. They make over $1 billion. It funds the destruction of the gas industry. You're going to have a grid that's undermined. Your freedom is taken away, all to enrich liberal elitists. The REINS Act, all these things, they're good stuff. But let's be clear. Our border's on fire. They're literally destroying every aspect of our way of life. We're not even talking about the woke, weaponized DEI crap that they're doing over at the Pentagon, for example. So we're going to have to take all of these fights on all the way through, and Lord willing, land the plane with the Republican president and get in and gut this place.
I will tell you that there's not a chance that I'm going to be in Washington anytime soon, but the next time you're in Dallas, I owe you the biggest Fred Flintstone steak dinner I can find. Thank you, Chip. I appreciate it.
God bless you, Glenn. And look, thanks for having me on. Just keep it up, man. I mean, the American people are onto it. I hope it's not too late. If you're listening to this, you got to get engaged. We got to do this. Do it for your kids or grandkids. More importantly, for your great-grandparents, grandparents who fought for this country, stormed the beaches of Normandy, sat in the foxholes in Bastogne. We don't just talk about it. Don't just wave the flag on July 4th. Dadgummit, go man the ramparts. We got to go do it now.
Representative Chip Roy from the great state of Texas. Thank you, Chip. I appreciate it. And anyone who says dadgummit, you listen to.